This is Charlie Kao with TRO TravelMole. I'm a co-publisher along with Richard Earls, my colleague, co-publisher. With us today from American Tours International, also known as ATI, is Nick Hentschel, the COO, and Jenny Tecklenburg, Vice President of Sales.
Hi,
Nick.
Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
How's it going in California?
Oh, things are getting back to normal actually here in California. We've done very well with the vaccine efforts, and they're removing mask mandates outside and reopening restaurants at capacity, I think 50% capacity here in Los Angeles County, and then other shops and stores. So things are really feeling like we've come back from what was a pretty tough period back in the December, January timeframe to some new normal that actually feels pretty good.
Well, in the last few days, TripAdvisor came out with a survey that said of the Americans planning on traveling, 2/3 of Americans planning summer vacations. And of those planning to travel, 74% will take a domestic trip and 13% an international one. What are the trends American Tours International is seeing? Nick?
So the trend that we're seeing right now, I think, is in line with some of the reporting that travel advisors and their own experience of what they're seeing from their customers, which is, destinations like Hawaii are hot. Las Vegas is going gangbusters right now. And the Florida coast especially, but also Orlando, because the parks are now reopened, are booking extremely well. And that actually, and at least on the coastal areas of Florida, did quite well throughout the winter because it was one of the few places that people could go. But what we're also seeing now is the resurgence of the national parks and surrounding areas, the great outdoors kinds of bookings that and travel that we were experiencing last summer. But the issue, I think, more so this summer is going to be one of availability. And that is something that we're kind of standing at the ready for, because there's always a limited amount of inventory, hotel inventory in the national parks. So this is going to be something that's going to be very interesting if, as you say, that percentage of Americans are traveling over the summer and not going overseas or to other international destinations. And this is the big question, because as other destinations open up, will American travelers feel more confident going, or will they still decide to stay here in the US and experience a destination that they love or that they've never been to before?
Richard?
Absolutely. It's indicated that about 37 million people are going to travel over the Memorial Day holiday, and you're talking about the possibility of availability being kind of slim at the national parks. How far in advance are people having to book, Jenny and Nick, to find accommodations at the national parks?
Well, I would say book now, and Jenny can comment on what we're seeing with the bookings from our agency partners, what's coming in. But it is important to book early. We do hold inventory, as I said before, in the national park areas. It obviously varies by park, right? And so some are going to be more constrained than others. Jenny, what are you seeing?
Yeah, my team and I speak to the travel agents and the travel professionals every day, and it's really interesting. It's all about the national park, just like Nick said. We get a lot of questions and help the agents put together itineraries for their customers. And just like Nick said, it's all about the availability and booking early. And it's nice to see, because we hold the allotments, even though as a travel professional, you go on perhaps the website directly to check availability. That if it's sold out, many times ATI still have allotments, because we're protected when it comes to our allotments. And we've had lots of happy travel professionals who've gone through Yellowstone, for example, and they've been able to book rooms through us, although it was sold out on the website of the hotel itself, for example. So I think that's important to point out, and that's what I see quite often. And obviously, when someone can squeeze in a room in a national park, that's nice for everyone. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is that a lot of the travel professionals, they don't know that you actually get commission when you book with ATI in the national parks. Anything you book with ATI, you get commission. And I think that's incredibly important because many times if you book with the hotel directly, especially in the national parks, you don't get that. So I wanted to mention that because that is something that comes up quite frequently when I speak directly to the travel professionals.
The long stay accommodation situation, how is that? Is there a big demand for that? Is there enough supply of the long stay hotels, lodges, apartments? Nick?
Well, this has been a focus of ours in terms of contracting, whether it's lodges that have kind of unique experiences along with them, right? So like Wildcat or Ranch, and there's a whole bunch of them that ATI contracts that are really interesting. And actually, a lot of those are not right in the national parks or right next to the national parks. They're in other areas that may not be as impacted. So that's a really important point, Charlie, that we have those alternatives. That travel advisors, if they can't find availability where their customers want to go, there are really good alternatives that are not so far from a park area, but that actually offer in some ways a better experience. And Jenny can speak to that. In terms of the long stay and the vacation rentals, if you will, that's something that we've also invested in terms of contracting and bringing on board vacation rentals. And yes, you're right, even though we are kind of starting to emerge out of this pandemic, there still is that cautiousness and that desire, that cautiousness to kind of stay in multiple hotels, and that desire rather to be in a condo or in a vacation rental for a longer period of time and kind of control your environment a little more. So we have seen more demand for those, especially on like the Florida Gulf Coast area. And I think that also in the California coastal regions, we'll see some more demand for those as the summer kind of heats up. Jenny, what have you been seeing?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. We get a lot of requests for customers who want to have their own pool. That seems to be the thing. They just want to have their own pool. They don't want to stay at a hotel where they have to share that. So that's a lot of times what we help them with and quote and so forth. And you know, one thing with large bookings, especially with vacation homes, if someone's going away with a big family, that seems to also be one of the trends that we saw in 2020 and now into 2021, is that, you know, family haven't seen each other in a while. So they're getting all together now when they can, and they want to, you know, go on a vacation, and they want a vacation homes with their own pool where they can, you know, cook by themselves and so forth. And a lot of times these are really nice bookings for the, you know, for the agents. So we do help them with that. And quote, if it's not instantly available, then we check availability for them and so forth. And I see that's a huge trend. We help a lot of agents with that on a daily basis. And I think that, you know, one booking can, you know, one stay for a week. For example, we had a really nice booking in, I think it was in Myrtle Beach. And it was a family staying there, and the agent, the whole booking for 1 week was really almost $15,000. So, you know, one booking can be really nice for the agents, and we help them with that. And I wanted to also mention our concierge service, which is really important. So for any bookings that are more than $5,000 in revenue, basically with a hotel accommodation or vacation rental accommodation, then we do provide an extra service. So basically that booking qualifies for our concierge service. And by that, we could help them with anything. If they want to book a van, if they're traveling together, or a private tour, or anything like that. So it's a nice little service that we introduced in 2020 for these those particular bookings that are really high revenue, over $5,000.
Richard?
It probably isn't difficult to get to that $5,000 range if you're talking longer stays, if you're talking about larger accommodations that will handle an entire family with a pool. It probably isn't very tough to get to that $5,000 level.
That's exactly right. And that could be a vacation home rental for a week, or it could be a longer drive tour that includes several stops and so forth. And that's something that we've really seen take off in 2020 and also in 2021 is the drive tours, especially. Everyone wants to be outside, outdoors, active lifestyle. They've been in the house for a long time. So we continue to see that trend. And just like you said, Richard, it doesn't take a lot to get over $5,000, especially you have 2 rooms and they're going for, a week to 10 days. And especially if you have high end, even for a couple of days, it's easy to get over that kind of threshold to get all access to the extra service.
Nick, for many of the travel agents watching, they may not be familiar with American Tours International, also known as ATI. Briefly, can you give a quick background about ATI?
Sure. Thank you, Charlie. I'd be happy to. So we are 43 years old, founded in 1977 as initially a group tour operator, primarily inbound from Europe and Australia. And those group tours really we started to create our own set departures in escorted tours that we're feeding in from all over the world in various languages. And then we branched out into FIT travel, into individual travel, and developed our own system that was really focused on that, on packaging for individuals. After 9/11, which was really the last crisis that we as an industry faced, and really nothing as large as this now, but it was everyone will recall, international travel really came to a standstill for a period of time. And so we adopted a domestic strategy and partnered with AAA, the American Automobile Association, as well as the Canadian Automobile Association, to develop our Drive America programs. And the technology behind that is really what started back in that early 2000s timeframe for creating packages that we could market to travel agents and to AAA members at the time to really inspire them to book a road trip package. And this has really been the kind of basis for what we have now focused on in this pandemic era. Actually, leading up to it, we had developed a new platform on our website that really allowed agents to fully customize a tour that we have built. And this is the new functionality that we've been featuring through programs with yourselves and with all sorts of webinars that we've been doing. And Jenny's been doing outreach to travel agents to show them that functionality. And so that's really been the focus in this past year, is really being able to start from a curated road trip itinerary that includes hotels and attractions that can then be fully customized. So that's just a brief overview of what we do. We also have a groups team that can handle any group requests that may have typically more complicated ones we're experts at, and they're based in our various regional offices. We're headquartered in Los Angeles, but we have offices in Orlando and New York and Hawaii, which I think mimic our top destinations. So I hope that's a good overview.
I believe that you, pre-COVID, you handled 500,000 visitors to USA from abroad in 2019, right, which stayed on average of 10 nights or thereabouts, which is incredible buying power from that standpoint.
That's right. Yeah, that's right, Charlie. It's a really good point about the international. The international business is different from the domestic business. We have a lot of experience in both. And the international business does have a longer length of stay. They have different stay patterns. And so we specialize in that. But, the buying power that we bring to hotels and to attractions, because of that, we're able to leverage and we're able to use that for our domestic clientele as well. So it will come back. There's no question. It's just a matter of when. We're hoping in the next few weeks that the UK will be the one that starts, because that is a major market. Canada, Mexico, we think that are going to come back pretty soon once the borders are open and there's more vaccinations in both of those places. And so we are, at the ready when it does. But in the meantime, we're really focused on our domestic relationships and making sure that our travel agents know about all the features and the products that we and services that we're offering.
Great.
And we don't compete with.
Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna share that, we are B2B as well, which is really important. We do not compete with the travel agents and try to, steal their customers. We are a true partner, and we're really proud of that. And that's been going on since we, started the company a long time ago. So I think that's important to point out. And also, we don't cross-sell. So, customer service is really important to us, both to the travel agents and the travel professionals, and then to the customers once they're traveling. And, I'm proud to head up the sales team and account managers that are here to help all the travel professionals with any questions they have on product and help them, really customize that perfect trip for their customers. And, we have so many products to offer that are already preset, but we all know that each customer loves to have it exactly the way that they had imagined. Many are very sophisticated when it comes to travel already. So helping them and helping the travel professionals really being able to utilize our technology and customize, the perfect dream vacation here in the US for the customer is, what drives us every day, and customer service is so important to us.
Well, as a product line, it strikes me that this is such an untapped market for the US travel agent. Too often, I think the travel agency mentality has sort of ceded the road trip to the big OTAs. And this looks like a tremendous opportunity, and maybe a market that has been under appreciated by and large by the travel agency community as a whole.
I think that's really right, Richard. That's what we kind of targeted early on in the pandemic, knowing that travel agents would not be able to book cruises, for instance, that they would have to refocus their energy to what was possible, right? And yes, a lot of travel consumers in the US are very comfortable with just booking a hotel and driving, not too far, either on the hotel's website itself, or maybe they're using points that they have, or through an OTA, as you say. But we're really focused on some of the more complex itineraries, and also inspiring by showing what the possibilities are, what the itinerary, the recommended kind of route is, and curating that. That's different from what an OTA offers, which is very much individual hotel based, or individual attraction based, or individual destination based. And so you have to piece it all together. And so we work closely with destinations and multiple destinations, not just one. We're pairing them together and saying, well, for example, we just did a program with Arizona. Well, why don't you stay in the Scottsdale, actually Salt River area, and then Sedona, and then go up to Flagstaff and the Grand Canyon. And that is a perfect Arizona vacation for your customer. That's the kind of work that we do. And then we deliver the product to actually back it up. Knowing, of course, that travel agents and their customers are going to want to do their specific trip, right? They're going to want to make changes. And that's the key. We allow for that. And we actually, we think, kind of facilitate that with the platform that we've created.
One of the things that travel agents are constantly asked by their clients is, well, price. How is the price different if I book it myself online with bookings.com, Expedia, versus you, dear travel agent? And so that question goes to ATI, because that travel agent's booking with ATI. How do your prices that are commissionable to the travel agent compare to what the consumer, the traveler, can book online?
I think that's a really important point. And the difference is that we're dealing with typically packaged rates, right? So what you're seeing on an OTA or through the hotel directly are not packaged rates, because you're able to book them on a standalone basis. When an agent comes and logs on to create that a road trip itinerary or to book a Drive America package, we are dealing with deeper discounted rates. And that's where the compelling kind of, that's the reason for booking in terms of a price point. There's other reasons in terms of the service levels that Jenny spoke to, but we are able to deliver a discount off of what would be called the best available rate and also a commission. Now, I will say that there will, of course, be times where either an OTA has a special deal at a hotel and we don't have the same deal that at that property. But we'll have other properties that we are partnering with that will be able to offer a better rate and the commission at. And so it's really a question of dealing with our sales team. If there is a question on price, that we can then say, well, actually, have you looked at this this offering that ATI has really focused on, and that's really the distinction for us, Charlie, is the package rates.
I'm laughing to myself, thinking that the OTAs, majority of the business comes direct from the consumer through retail, and their cost of marketing per acquisition of that customer costs billions and billions, versus American Tourist International ATI, you're wholesale only. You only work through travel agents and tour operators. So, yeah, the travel agents know who their friends are.
That's right.
Well, that's what Jenny was speaking to before. I mean, and the truth is that when you are playing in both camps, you have to be very careful as a company about what your real goals are, and that's why we've decided very purposefully that we do need to focus on our relationships and our customers who are travel agents and tour operators here in the US and worldwide. The OTAs are trying to play both, and we'll see how that works. I mean, that is a newer development in more recent years, where they've wanted to branch out into the B2B space, and we've heard mixed things about it. Jenny?
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, it comes down to the customer service, so to speak, right? So I think, know who you book with. And what I heard from a lot of agents in 2020, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, was that they couldn't get a hold of anybody. They were trying to help their customers cancel their booking, get their money back, and there was no one to talk to. And that's what I mean with know who you book with. We really pride ourselves on that customer service and being able to help the passenger if on the road, of course, but also the agent. Because we know that if we have a happy customer, they will come back to that travel agent and book again, and maybe book a longer trip or, an international trip and so forth. And that's what we pride ourselves on, is that customer service to the agent. We are there to help them. And it also helps that we have direct relationships everywhere with all the hotels and the vendors. We don't buy, supplies from someone else who then books with the hotel. Everything that we do is direct, which means that, when there's an issue, then we can help with it very swiftly and, satisfactory.
I would just add one more point on this is, if you're booking with a consumer-facing brand, what do you think your customer is going to ultimately do when they see that you've made a booking through that brand? They're going to think, well, why couldn't I have done that? So, this is, I think, an important distinction that I know travel professionals have been working through and trying to deal with for these past, several years, that they've become more dominant, the OTAs, in the B2B space.
Richard?
Well, yeah, and it strikes me too that there is an aspect of this that really speaks well of your concierge services, because those are the additional factors that the consumer is going to overlook, and the OTA is not going to provide them with. And so those additional services becomes a real value add for the travel professional.
Yeah, I mean, that's the service is really powered by our group's expertise, right? So the fact is that it's not easy to just book a private guide in all destinations. You need to have those contacts, and you need to work with them on really an ad hoc individual basis. There's so this is what we do, is find the private tour, or get you access to a place that doesn't do, especially now, publicly available tours. This is something that you need to have expertise, and so that's why Jenny's team, which Groups falls under, they basically, our special groups team is who powers the concierge service for these higher kind of revenue bookings that we've talked about.
I would like to follow up about the concierge service, in that maybe some of the travel agents are not so familiar with that service. And how does that work for somebody traveling on a budget, their family, a multi-generation, family, friends, versus the travel agent's clients who wants luxury? Who wants to take that?
It works the same way. It works the same way, so to speak, because, the qualification for having access to concierge service is truly revenue, right? Because once you hit that $5,000, it could be, like you said, could be a luxury booking that qualify with, 3 nights at a really fancy hotel. Then we'd be happy to help. Or if you have a large booking that people are on a budget, but it's a large booking and it still kind of qualifies, then we're happy to help with that. It's really a true concierge service in that sense, because we are able to help with all kinds, anything from budget all the way up to luxury. And yeah, it's exciting.
So what happens if the grandparents just yearning to get together with the extended family, and there's, 15 of them, 20 of them, and what can you do for transportation? They want a nice, comfortable transportation, not a little crowded van or something. They want some, they don't know who's open in terms of special restaurants, or theme restaurants or such. So I wouldn't call that high end, but it's
right.
Somebody who wants to splurge a little bit. It's a very special event that they've been locked up. Everybody's been locked up for over a year. How does that work?
Yeah, well, Charlie, that's exactly the type of trips that we deal with. That's kind of a hybrid group that you're talking about. It's a small group, if you will. They're all one family, but it requires specific transportation, specific restaurant reservations, and that's what our team is really expert at doing. It depends on what type of transportation they want. We can do a sprinter with a driver guide, or we can do a full service coach, or some sort of specialized limousine, or anything really. And the point is that we have the experience across the U.S. So whatever destination they are the travel agent is looking for, we will provide that expertise that they might not have, and that we can really bring, answer some of the questions in advance, and then still get them wholesale rates where they can earn a commission, and maybe they're rates that they wouldn't be able to get if they were contracting it or contacting those suppliers directly.
In today's Zoom world, right? This consulting with a travel agent, how often does it happen that you get on Zoom with the travel agent and their clients, as the travel agent specialist, and just knock off all the Q&A in one shot? Does that happen much?
It does happen. Most of the time, what myself and the team does is that many of the agents come to us prior to having their call with the customer, and they want to prep things, right? They kind of know what the customers want. We go over with them the product that already exists. If they already know specific hotels, then I'm on Zoom, daily. And what I do is I log in as the agent, so that the agent sees that I'm doing it on behalf of them. So then it's saved at the end of the day on the website for them. And we start designing the itinerary. The system is very easy once you get to know it and play with it and so forth. So, once you kind of have shown it and gone through the training, so to speak, then the agents really roll and they start designing their own itineraries. And what's really neat is that you can save the itineraries and build your own library when it comes to, the tours. So if you start with a tour, let's say Best of the West, 2-week traditional West Coast tour, if you design it the way the agent really wants, then they can save it as, for example, Charlie's Best of the West. The next time, you can go in and grab that particular tour. And that is being used a lot by the agents. But I would say, just to answer your question, Charlie, that many times we do the pre-work with the agent, and then they go ahead and they present everything to the consumer when they come in or via the phone and do their own Zoom call with them. We're always available, of course, if to do a 3-way call, but most of the time the agents do prefer to do, spend that time with the consumer directly. But we're up for helping in any way we can and share our knowledge. And we talked briefly about before just that the agents may not have focused on the US at all. I know, Nick, you just mentioned that they've been focused on cruising or maybe European river cruising and so forth. And the USA is our expertise. This is what we do. This is what we love. We know all the national parks. We know, all the places to visit. And that's really what we share with the agents when we help them design and work with them. What to do? What are you going to do when you're in Zion? What's recommended to do when you are in Bryce and so forth? And that's the kind of knowledge that we can share. And when we do get the agents on Zoom, we show them how to add that to the itinerary, the activities as well, not just the hotels, but also what to do, a nice bike tour in Zion or a nice, horseback riding in Bryce and so forth. There's so many things that you can add to an itinerary. And that's what we share with the agents. And then the agents roll on their own. I mean, once they see how easy it is, it's really nice, and you see that you start designing themselves and searching and so forth.
Right. Just for the audience sake, Jenny's referring to the Drive America platform of ATI that lets you design from scratch or from a selected template of the dozens they have of itineraries throughout the US. And it's so easy to use, whether it be for a few people, a couple, or a larger number of people, 5, I think. How many maximum hotel rooms can you book on the platform, Nick?
Well, that depends on what the availability is by hotel. Typically, I think that it supports up to 5 hotels per actual booking. But there are hotels that, if we only have, 2-room allotment, that may not actually be possible. It depends on what the availability is that we have. And if there is obviously any issue there and it starts to become a group, that's the other benefit for us, is that we actually do have a team that can convert those bookings into a group arrangement, which is, I think, unique for us, that we are offering both the FIT kind of platform and can support any group requests as they come up. The other point I think the other point I was going to make, because we've talked a lot about the drive tours and the national parks, and that is really our expertise. But the other areas that are already so popular right now, I think the travel agents need to take a look at what you can book in Las Vegas, in Hawaii with ATI, because we do specialize in those destinations, and we do have relationships, and we do have added value and rates that are really different from a lot of other operators or OTAs. Things like resort fee inclusive rates with a reduced resort fee if they're booking a package. And there's certain things that ATI specializes in contracting to make it part of a package, to make it affordable, that agents should really be aware of. And Jenny's team can walk them through all of that. But I wanted to mention that today because
Thank you.
there really are, special value propositions by booking with ATI in destinations like Las Vegas, New York, Hawaii, and others.
Well, thank you so very much, Nick Hentschel, COO of American Tourists International, ATI, Jenny Tecklenburg, Vice President of Sales, and my co-publisher, Richard Earls with TRO TravelMole. Have a great day. Learned a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie.